Today we're talking about an epic film noir classic. So today's film is Out of the Past by Jacques Tourneur, a movie that is considered by many one of the best, if not the best, of the genre. So with no more ado, let's jump into it. This incredible, fantastic movie was released the 25th of November, of Noirvember now, in 1947. And in terms of the genre evolution, this movie was released during a period of consolidation heavily cemented after World War II. This is therefore a cornerstone of film noir.
Well, the last guy in the world.
I hate surprises myself. You want to just shut the door and forget it?
No, come on in. I like surprises.
It was shot in 64 days, most of them in Culver City in Hollywood, in the RKO studios, with some scenes in Lake Tahoe, beautiful Lake Tahoe, and additional photography in Acapulco, San Francisco, and New York. It was produced by Warren Duff, who had been also responsible for the screenplays of other film noirs such as Appointment with Danger and The Turning Point. Out of the Past was based on a novel by Geoffrey Holmes, published in 1946, originally called Build My Gallows High. Geoffrey Holmes was in turn the pseudonym for Daniel Mainwaring, who adapted some of his novels to the screen and eventually also became a screenwriter. The incredible photography of Out of the Past was by Nicholas Musuraka. He was a veteran cinematographer, one of the best, not only of film noir, but in films in general. He had previously shown his incredible talent in two classic horror movies such as Cat People and The Leopard Man. This Italian photographer helped establish Hollywood's noir aesthetics, and he also developed his own expressionist style in movies such as The Spiral Staircase, Deadline at Dawn, or The Locket. He was a master at his craft, and it was in RKO where he supervised one of his most sublime masterpieces, such as Out of the Past. His enormous talent, however, was not fully recognized until he retired. Composer Roy Webb is responsible for this movie's fantastic score that is also, I think, worth mentioning. His noir musical creations can also be heard in movies like Murder My Sweet, another fantastic noir, Notorious, Crossfire, or The Window. So another name to remember. Jacques Tourneur was the director appointed for Out of the Past. Born in Paris, he arrived in the US with his father, Maurice Tourneur, who is also a director and screenwriter. From what I've read, he worked as an actor, assistant director, and editor before fully committing to directing movies. Out of the Past was a very important movie for him, as it brought him reputation as one of the best European directors established in Hollywood during that era. Other important movies for him were I Walked with a Zombie, Cat People, Berlin Express, and Nightfall. He had a very elegant cinematic style. His movies were invariably stunningly photographed, with narratives again full of flashbacks, characters haunted by the past, and again an incredible elegance and sensitivity that we are able to fully enjoy through Out of the Past. And what to say about the cast? I mean, one of the best successes of Out of the Past, aside from all these ingredients, photography, directing, was yet once again the casting. This movie is what it is because of Jane Greer, Robert Mitchum, and Kirk Douglas. Especially the first two, in my opinion, because Kirk Douglas I think is best remembered for other parts, for other roles, but boy, Jane Greer and Robert Mitchum really made Out of the Past one of the movies that defined their careers.
I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know anything except how much I hated. But I didn't take anything. I didn't, Jenny. Won't you believe it?
Baby, I don't care.
Because this is really, again, a Mitchum movie, as much as it is also a Jane Greer movie, who plays one of the most perfect femme fatales. Jane Greer was discovered, I believe, by Howard Hughes, and I believe that Out of the Past was one of the first movies she did. And she said in an interview that she was very nervous and she was seeking advice, and Jacques Tourneur, who I think didn't speak English that well, just told her, first half of the movie, good girl, second half of the movie, bad girl. Best definition of her character ever. She is so feminine here, she is so cunning, she is so evil, and yet so fascinating. And I think she plays this character, she owns the character to perfection. And so does Robert Mitchum, because who could play the laconic, the taciturn, yet the coolest guy ever? The way he played these characters in noir films, it's so consistent with, again, the core messages of the genre, that pessimism, that fatalism, that stoic acceptance that reality is shit and that we might as well play along because there's no escaping, I think is one of the reasons why this movie is still so highly appraised and so loved, because of all this amazing people, but also because of actors such as Robert Mitchum or Jane Greer. The plot for Out of the Past, which is something that I haven't yet covered, is quite, I think, as in most cases, a quite complex plot full of interweaving again of the present and the past. It starts in Bridgeport, where Jeff Bailey, played again marvelously by Robert Mitchum, has a gas station. He leads a seemingly quiet, super quiet life. He has an assistant, a mute assistant played by Dickie Moore, and also a girlfriend, the nice girl in town, played by Virginia Houston. This quiet life is disrupted abruptly by the appearance of Joe Stefanos, who informs Jeff that his boss, gangster Whit Sterling, played by Kirk Douglas, wants to see him right away. So Jeff grabs a car, his girlfriend accompanies him, and on their way to Whit Sterling's house, Jeff explains Anne his past as a detective, and we have the flashback sequence here in which we learn how he came to work for Whit when he hired him to find his then girlfriend Kathy Moffat, who had shot him and run away with $40,000. Robert Mitchum has also a partner who is quite sleazy, but he just goes on his own for this mission, and he follows Kathy to Acapulco. The chemistry between the two of them is instant. Those sequences are epic. As they become closer and closer, Kathy tells him that she hasn't stolen the money, and again, they start a relationship together until Jeff's partner, the sleazy one, comes and finds them together and wants a stake at this and blackmails Jeff. And that's essentially the first part of the movie. You can see that from that moment on, all sorts of complications arise, and the clashing between all these characters takes place. Karma is in your face in film noirs. I won't say much more about the plot because it is a movie, again, that you have to experience and to watch multiple times if you can, because you'll see that you start noticing different things every time you watch it. You will notice things like the juxtaposition of the city and the countryside, how the city is often corrupt. Countryside scenes take place normally during daylight. So there's that contraposition of city is bad, countryside is good and pure, and that contrast is something that you can also see with the female characters of Out of the Past. So again, it's things like this that you'll start noticing, and you'll inevitably fall in love with Out of the Past. That's a guarantee. There's no escaping also out of the past. So as I always say in these videos, do yourself a favor if you haven't yet watched Out of the Past, or if you have, just find an excuse to watch it again soon. And that's all I have for you for today's video. As always, I hope that you enjoyed this one, that you leave in the comments down below if you have watched Out of the Past. What's your favorite part? Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for sharing the love for classic movies. Thank you so much for joining me for this film noir challenge. Take care, stay safe, and see you all tomorrow with our next video. Bye!